Afternoon everyone, I am Erica Smith and I am the Assistive Technology Lead for Highfurlong, and welcome to an introduction to Assistive Technology. So Highfurlong, through the EdTech Demonstrator Programme, has formed a consortium with Ribblesdale and Hambleton, and we have existing experience with demonstrating excellence in the use of technology to support teaching and learning within our settings. We have a very diverse makeup within the consortium, so we have a Ribblesdale are a Microsoft Training Academy. We have Hambleton, who are a very experienced Google Classroom school, and Highfurlong bring the assistive technology element to the consortium. So we are really equipped as a 3-school consortium to offer support to primary, secondary, SEN and post-16 phases, and really are able to give that real life view on how EdTech can be used to support across your whole organisation. So we're offering digital platforms for learning and supporting remote learning, and also moving that learning forward when students come back into school from September. We're very much about keeping children safe while using EdTech, supporting pupils with SEND, both in mainstream and special schools, supporting pupil and teachers' wellbeing, staff CPD, and really supporting schools with that EdTech transformation strategy and how to really embed it within schools. So just a little bit of an overview of Highfurlong. We are a maintained special school in Blackpool. Our children range from ages 2 to 19. We currently have 85 pupils. I think we're moving to about 96 in September, with a variety of complex medical and physical needs. And we really use technology to enable our students to fulfill their potential and really be the best that they can be. So within our school, we use Google Drive. We also use Windows 10, iPads to support both teaching and learning, and software for communication on there as well. We've got our Apple TVs in every classroom. We've brought in Osmos as part of the iPads. We've also got VR headsets, and over the last 18 months, we have been using Seesaw as a secure social media to engage with parents, much like the Class Dojo app, and other schools would use maybe Tapestry as another example. But I think really what sets us apart is that the assistive technology is embedded within every aspect of our learning. It's very visible when you walk around the school. So what do we mean by assistive technology? Really, it's any device or software or equipment that helps people to work around challenges, whether it's to open doors, environmental controls. But within our school setting, what it looks like is equipment to really support with computer access. It might be switch accessible devices or switch adapted electronics, software that might be allowed to support literacy, and lots of communication aids. So we have lots of students who use alternative forms of communication. And why we use it really, in a nutshell, is for our students to be as active in their own learning and have that autonomy over their learning as much as possible. So by making the environment and the learning easier and more accessible. So this was a simple cooking activity where, using his communication software, I was able to take direction from the young man in the picture, and then using a simple switch with a power link box, he was able to control the whisk and have that physical input as well, which I think is so important. To give our students the opportunities to work to their strengths and they feel like they're achieving and they're actually part of that, which really helps with that kind of engagement and motivation. And by being able to support our students with the right technology, we can accurately assess and unlock their potential and really gauge a true understanding of their capabilities, of all our students with disabilities, but especially those with those complex and medical needs who are possibly kind of locked in and really need that outlet to show us that what they can really do. So types of assistive technology. So we tend to break it down into low tech, mid tech and high tech. So your low tech is your more simple resources or equipment that require little maintenance and limited, maybe no electronics. It could be symbol software to create a visual timetable or now a next board. It could be tabs, page turners, tabs, it could be pencil grips. Mid-tech, there might be some maintenance, some training, maybe a few electronics. It could be that I'm thinking of a communication aid with maybe a limited number of minutes or a limited number of messages that they can record on. And high-tech would be much more of a complicated and complex system, which requires training and maintenance and probably a wider team approach to support the use of. So low tech for us in school really refers to communication books, communication boards, which are visual and visible in all classrooms, page turners, so boards to prop up iPads, communication books, a visual timetable, as you can see on the right hand side, visual timers. So all our classrooms have got a visual timetable under the TV in the classroom at the centre of the class at the front. Pencil grips, an e-tran frame. So the student in this picture is eye pointing on the board, and those symbols were made using symbol software. So that's kind of very low tech and tends to be probably your most reliable. As much as we promote the use of technology, your paper-based resources, they won't. They don't glare off in the sun and they won't let you down. Then you've got your mid to light tech, so some voice recording software, maybe with a limited number of messages, as I've said, communication, battery operated devices. It could be an adapted mouse or an adapted keyboard. We use a lot of software that reads aloud to our students, and it could also be mounting those communication aids and switches, so that actually the students are able to have them on their person at all times. Then we come into high-tech technology. So that is your iPads, your eye tracking, smart boards and touch screens. It could be specific software to support literacy. I'm thinking something like Clicker or SimWriter, your symbol software, as we mentioned, which is being used on the iPad on the bottom picture, and your VR headset. So that really quite high tech, lots of training. You're not just going to be able to pick it up and go. You're going to have to support your students by supporting the staff to really understand it before you roll it out to your students. So when we assess for assistive technology, I think it's really important to keep in mind that the student is the focus. So it's not a case of expecting our students to fit to the technology. It's using the technology that will most complement the students' needs and support them. So we use the SET process. So we look at the student, the environment, the task, and then the tools. So it's quite easy to be tempted by the newest piece of kit on the market or something that's gone viral on Twitter. But actually, if you put the student in the centre, look at what are their needs, where are they? So is there a specific environment? So it might be that they can communicate quite effectively within the classroom, but then when they go outside into the playground, they can't be heard, or there's a glare on the screen, or they can't carry a device while they're playing with their friends and playing with their peers. So it's really looking what does the student need or want to accomplish, and then it's matching those technology tools to support that task. So you really consider it, and with all the planning in the world, you need to trial it and then implement it, and then actually reevaluate, because you can buy a piece of kit for a student and think absolutely brilliantly, but then I've had students where they don't want that device because it's too clunky or it's not cool enough or it makes them stand out. So it's really taking in the student's voice as well when you're trying to implement something new. So the young man in the picture, Riley, he is a young boy with cerebral palsy, which impacts his fine and gross motor skills, his communication and his learning. So in his environment, in his classroom setting, he needs support around his learning. He needs support with interacting with peers in the playground and in the lunch hall. And the task is that he needs support with communication. He needs support to access the computer, and also to develop his literacy skills. So because of that, he uses lots of different tools, and again, it's not just about one tool for all purposes, or it's not a whole school buy-in, so actually this tool is going to suit every child all the time. For him, he very much has his toolbox, and he dibs in and out. So he has a low-tech communication book in the picture. He also has a binder for that, which is one of our suppliers I will mention at the end. He has a board to prop up his iPad. He also has a key guard, because whilst he can use what we call direct access, so he can use his finger, actually to really isolate that movement and so it's accurate, he benefits from a key guard so that he doesn't accidentally select the wrong cell. So he has a mid-tech switch, so he has a switch to access the computer or to access toys when he's playing with his friends, and he has a big keys keyboard as well. And he also, he's very lucky, he also has an iPad with a communication software called Read Avenue to support his literacy as well. So it really is matching the tools for the environment and actually the task in hand. So I look at, I always refer to using Clitheroe I use it for spelling tests, because actually if the objective of that is to assess the student's spelling as opposed to the handwriting, it doesn't necessarily need to be written, and using a resource like Clicker actually just removes that barrier, builds that confidence and that self-esteem that actually the students can do this. It's just adapting, you know, the way we deliver that work and the way we expect that work to be recorded. So things to consider when you're using assistive technology. I touched on it briefly with Riley. It's how they're going to access the technology. So I've got students who use head switches. They might be connected to an elbow. It could be direct access. It might be eye pointing. It's really, and that's where I think school staff and parents, you need that multidisciplinary team around you, because you will understand the needs of your students and your children, and then it's really, you need to liaise with your physio or your OT to understand really what is the safest and the most kind of reliable part of the body that they've got control over. Because my experience is when you've got students who've got involuntary movements, if you're putting a head switch with a student who maybe has involuntary movements and wears glasses, I've had it where a student has marked themselves because they've used the head. So really, it's even with all padding around a switch, it's not just a case of, it's really getting to know your students, knowing where is the safest option, and you can trial switches. So it could be, I do have one student and she uses a head, but when she gets tired, she will choose to use her arm to activate her switch. I've had students who need them on their knees, with eye pointing. It's just, there's lots of different, and again, that's really where your physio and OT, you will be, you know, you'll need that support. And again, when it comes to mounting, so if you're planning to mount a switch on a student's chair, you need your OT support really, rather than just clamping it to the wheelchair. So it's just, these are just things. And if your student needs maybe a joystick to access the computer, it might be that they need a height adjustable table to get under the chair. So there's lots of factors to kind of consider. Just a few simple tweaks which will make a massive difference. It also helps to look at what technology is already being used in school. So if you've got students who have got poor literacy skills, it might be that you don't need to buy anything additional, but you need to look at explore your options if you're using Google Drive, for example. And there is the read aloud function. So rather than a member of staff having to sit next to the student and read everything for them, if you can highlight the text and have it read, you know, be read back to them, something simple. So it's really about looking and working with your ICT team. So whether it's your teacher of computing or your ICT lead in school, we have an ICT coordinator and we have council support around, and it's really working together to explore the full functionality before jumping in to buy another piece of technology software or kit. And again, they will be part of those people, part of that team responsible for implementing and training others and updating. So looking at your infrastructure as well, if you're trying to, I introduced a plug and play USB eye gaze device to a computer, which actually I didn't realise until we went to install it that it needed to be on Windows 10, and at the time we weren't. So it was very kindly pleading with our IT support from the local authority to take one PC off the network to standalone to upgrade it in order to use it. So it's just all trial and error. It's all different, and you'll come across these. So who can help me? So we've mentioned OT, speech and language therapists. I couldn't do without my speech and language therapist, because whilst I might understand that the student needs of communication software, I really need my speech and language to tell me which is the correct software and the layout and that kind of thing, and to help with those assessments. Your local assistive technology service, we are very fortunate that we have the ACE Centre in Oldham, and they also have an office in the south, and their website is there, and they really, if you're unsure, if you contact them, they will support you and point you in the right direction of your local service. And then you've got lots of companies such as Inclusive Technology, to name just one, who can supply lots of different equipment for really competitive prices. I think there's much more availability now when it comes to technology in general, assistive technology, and you even see it now within your light tech options and your mid tech options in your YPO and your TTS school catalogues. So it doesn't have to cost the earth. And again, it's just really making sure that rather than going out and buying everything, you really kind of use that set process. And I've put a list of useful companies and contacts further on in the presentation. Challenges from personal experience when introducing assistive technology. Cost is definitely, but as I said, there is more availability now, and I think therefore more competitive pricing. And if you would like to be supported on a one-to-one basis by Highfurlong, at the end I've put a link to our webinar, our consortium website where you registered for your webinars. And if you register through the London Grid for Learning, they will direct you towards a initiation form. Once you complete that and specify that you're looking for support with assistive technology, then they will signpost to us, and we can support with loaning equipment where possible for schools before they go out and buy it, because some can be costly. And if there's something that we've got that we can loan out so you can try it with students in advance, we'll do that, not a problem. So if you just register through the consortium website, and the address is at the end. Confidence of staff, and staff having the time to learn and become familiar with that new equipment before we roll it out to our students, because like everything else, when you get a new TV or a new phone, you need time to figure out how it works before you're then expected to show everybody else how to use it. So I think maybe, dare I say, one benefit of remote learning is that we do, some staff, I know head teachers will disagree with me massively, but I think some school staff, from staff I'm speaking to, have actually had a little bit more time at the moment to kind of do a little bit more in terms of CPD, time that when we're in school with the children we don't normally have. So it really is just kind of having the confidence to explore, to have a look through, see what's out there. Maintaining the equipment can be a challenge because, as we know, technology is ever changing. So again, it's making those wise choices when you're buying, looking at the ongoing support from suppliers, so which is something again that we can advise you with. Lots of companies now are offering free loans for software, and extending those loans. They might have been maybe a 2-week or a 30-day trial, but because of the COVID-19 are extended to 60-day trials. And again, I've put a list of suppliers and useful contacts at the end. And if you look on their websites, there's lots of free downloads. And as I mentioned, having the equipment supported by your infrastructure. So we have an outreach service that we run out of school called the Highfurlong CAT team, and we have supported school, colleges, non-school settings, respite centres where maybe organisations have been bought a piece of kit, but actually they don't have a strong enough Wi-Fi that we can remote on and do updates, because there are free support updates from most suppliers, but without the right infrastructure to support even being able to connect to the Wi-Fi, you miss out on being able to do all those really important updates. So that's something to think of when you are buying assistive technology. So tools for supporting computer access, we're quite lucky that we've quite a range within school. Lots of switches to control, and in the picture we showed at the beginning, to control the PowerLink boxes, so which means activities like cooking are fully accessible because you can control the blender, you can control the microwave, you can control the mixer by using a switch. And whether your student is sat in a chair, having physio in a standing frame, on an achiever bed, if they could be sidelined, but you can activate a switch from anywhere. So it really does make that lesson fully inclusive all the time to all students, regardless of physical needs. Adapted keyboards, so we've got quite a lot of keyboards, not intentionally, there's one in the picture that you can see there next to Callum, for students with visual or fine motor impairments. Adapted mouse, so we've got quite a few rollerballs and joysticks used within school, single switch mouse, and also my latest gadget was a joystick which was actually operated, it fit over the student's golf ball. As you can see, Callum's power chair, if you take the golf ball off, you could fit this device over there, and then that would control the mouse on the screen and control that cursor. So rather than having a power chair and another piece of kit, it was a case of actually we could streamline this for a young lady that was in our Key Stage 5 class, so that she wasn't having to jump between various pieces of kit. Her power chair for her chair quickly control the cursor on the screen, which was great. And touchscreen technology, for those that have got direct access and don't need that switch and just kind of can have quite a bit of controlled movement to access the computer, but maybe not quite the mouse. So we've got quite a few students who use touchscreens technology. As in this picture, that was a good coincidence. Assistive software. So these are some, what I would class as maybe some of your most high profile companies. So Boardmaker, from Tobii Dynavox, they have lots of, we use picture communication symbols around school to help the students really understand and support their learning. Another company is Widget Online, SimWriter and Matrix Maker. So all companies which offer symbol software. Help Kids Learn have a really lovely bank of activities, games and stories that, again, that's online, which can be activated by switch or mouse or eye gaze. And the Switch It series from Inclusive Technology to support developing those switch skills as well. So I'll just leave on this page for a moment so that you can, if you're anything like me, you'll be jotting them down, suppliers and useful contacts that, and I would always recommend following these companies on Twitter. You can have a really good look at what's coming out and any latest publications, such as Ty Goddard's EdTech magazine, and Closing the Gap have an online magazine with assistive technology resources and strategies. Enabling Devices, they do assistive technology products, adapted toys and adapted technology. And you can just have a look at the website and just really become familiar. Some of them things you will have seen before. Ability World is when I showed you Riley at the beginning with his communication book, rather than having it in kind of a Polly Pocket folder, they have really nice binders. So that's just and lots of useful contacts, which I hope you will find beneficial. SEN ICT, which is Ian Bean, has some really great switch skills resources on there as well. And he's got the switch skills progression roadmap. So different softwares that you might want to have a look at to support literacy are Clicker, which is at the top. So Clicker, you can do some lovely spelling tests, storytelling. You could use, I have used it as a word processing document with predictive messages in it. So with predictive text, which is really good. Look to Read from Smartbox, and which is eye gaze accessible. And there's other tools which is to adapt books. So I have uploaded many Oxford Reading Tree books to Switch It Maker, so that actually it can be switch accessible and students can record their own messages behind it as well, which is nice. We use lots of, moving on from that now, we've obviously got lots of audio books. Tools to support communication, so communication books and iPad apps for communication, light tech devices such as the switches and the Go Talks that we saw at the very beginning, through to high-tech communication aids. And we are running a webinar on Tuesday the 23rd of June, and that is run by my speech and language therapist Sarah Alderman, and that's 2:30 till 4. So please do sign up on our Consortium website. As I mentioned, if you would like one-to-one support from Highfurlong School or any of our Consortium schools, if you register on the edtech.ribblesdale.org demonstrator website, and then there's a link on there to the LGFL registration, and then that will be directed to us. And if you specify whether it's support around Microsoft Teams, Assistive Technology, Google Classroom, and you'll be directed to one of our schools, and we can offer that, and we'll call and email and have the ongoing support through the rest of the project. Please follow myself on Twitter, Sarah Alderman, who's delivering next week as our speech and language therapist, Neil is our head teacher, and at Highfurlong we have our own school account, and of course we're on Facebook as well. So thank you so much, and if anyone would like a copy of any of the slides, please just let me know. Thank you so much.